Hola, clase. Today we're going to be talking about irregular verbs in the imperfect tense. Well, what's awesome is there's not really that many irregular verbs in the imperfect tense, which makes the imperfect tense one of the easiest tenses in Spanish. All right, so the best thing that I can tell you about the imperfect tense is that there are absolutely no stem changers. I'll say that again. There are no stem changers in the imperfect tense, so you don't have to worry about those at all. The other great news is that there are only 3 irregulars in the imperfect tense. So we'll take a look at those. And then besides those irregulars, everything else follows the rules. So everything else is considered a regular verb in the imperfect tense. Now, you can't act surprised when you see what the 3 irregular verbs are in the imperfect tense, because these 3 verbs are always irregular. They never follow the rules. So we have ser, ir, and ver. So ser, to be, is era, eras, era, erramos, erran. Ir is iba, ibas, iba, ibamos, and iban. And ver is veía, veías, veía, veíamos, and veían. If you can write down and memorize these 3 verbs, then you will have the imperfect tense down before you know it. While these are the only 3 irregular verbs in the imperfect tense, it is extremely important to know them because, especially with the verbs ser and ir, you will be using these verbs all the time when you're talking or writing in Spanish in the past tense. So make sure you know them. Don't take them lightly. You still really want to study them hard. It will just be that since there's only 3, it'll be easier to do that. All right, so here I have some examples for you, and I want to go over these with you and show you how to conjugate these verbs. There are some irregulars mixed in here that are actually irregular in the imperfect tense, like ser and ir. But keep in mind that there's also some verbs on here that they're usually irregular in the present tense, or they're usually stem changers, but they aren't irregular in the imperfect tense. So you're going to have to be careful to make sure that you're not trying to treat verbs like they're irregular in the imperfect tense when they're really not. It's such a simple tense that sometimes the problem is that people try to overcomplicate them. All right. And then the other thing that we'll be doing is I'll be reminding you of some of the reasons why we're using the imperfect tense in these sentences as we go. So in the first one, Miguel siempre jugar en el parque. So this is an action that Miguel always does. We know that because it says siempre. So we want to use the imperfect tense here. And so we're going to do jugaba, okay? And remember that this is not a stem changer in the imperfect tense because there's no such thing as stem changers in the imperfect tense. So we do not change the U to a UE. We just say jugaba. Miguel always plays in the park. De niños, Alex y Sam ser delgados. All right, now this is a description. We're describing what Sam and Alex used to be like when they were kids. And so we're going to use the imperfect tense here. And we're going to conjugate the verb ser to match ellos. And it is an irregular verb in the imperfect tense. So we need to remember that it's eran. So de niños, Alex y Sam eran delgados. As children, Alex and Sam were thin. Cuando era niña, Ana tener muchas juguetes. All right. Now here's another example of a verb tener that we don't want to overcomplicate. It's really easy in the imperfect tense. We just put the ending on it. We take off the er and we add the proper ending. Okay, so we don't have to worry about tengo. We don't have to worry about tienes, like it being a stem changer or anything like that. And this sentence is when she was a girl, Anna had a lot of toys, all right? And so we chose this imperfect tense verb here because we're just describing what it was like when she was a child, all right? Nosotros ir a la playa todos los días. That clue word, todos los días, tells us that we should use the imperfect here. Ir is an irregular, so we're going to do íbamos. Remember the accent mark there. Nosotros íbamos a la playa todos los días. We used to go to the beach every day. The next one here, I know it looks like there's not a subject if you read the whole sentence. La tres de la tarde. So we're wanting to tell what time it was, okay? And remember that we always use the imperfect tense to tell time. So since it's plural, tres, it's kind of like saying ellos or ellas. So we're going to say eran las 3 de la tarde. It was 3 in the afternoon. The last one here, yo estar muy enfermo. So I was very sick, all right? And like I said in the last lesson, we almost always use the imperfect tense when we're talking about how we feel or what our emotions are, okay? So since I'm saying that I was sick, I want to use the imperfect tense here. So it's going to be yo estaba. And remember, we don't have to use an irregular verb here because estar is treated as a regular verb in the imperfect tense, all right? So that's all we're covered today. That's really the whole entire imperfect tense. That's all you need to know about it in 2 short videos. Adios.